Brooks Koepka made some news this week for taking a shot at his own teammate, Matthew Wolff. It was reported a few weeks ago that Brooks Koepka was seeking a trade for Matt Wolff and trying to get him off Smash GC, where Brooks Koepka is the captain and also has his brother Chase Koepka, as along with Jason Kokrak. How about maybe get rid of your brother Chase, who hasn't been playing that great, aside from the one hole in one, but actually had a nice dunk on a chip in this week, so hasn't been playing horrible, but he's certainly in the relegation zone and looks like he's going to be gone from LIV next year. But there were reports that Wolff wasn't a fan of the 6 a.m. team workouts that Brooks Koepka was trying to get him to do because he's the captain, and he wasn't really about it, which makes sense because pro athletes all prepare to play in different ways. Like, obviously, Matt Wolff's getting workouts in. You've seen the guy. He's in pretty good shape. He's slim and fit, whatever. But maybe some guys don't want to work out on the days they're actually playing in a professional round of golf because they want to save everything for the golf course. So it makes sense that not everyone would be down for a 6 a.m. workout before you go out and, walk the course and play a round of golf. Some guys like getting a sweat in pre-round, some don't. I know a guy like Rory McIlroy loves getting workouts in before he goes and plays. Brooks Koepka, obviously, he's, jacked, a bigger dude, but Matt Wolff, he's kind of like a lean, skinnier guy. Looks more like a soccer player than he does a pro golfer. He's not jacked, and so I could see why he wasn't a fan of the 6 a.m. workouts. But, well, I guess there were no takers for the trade with Matthew Wolff. And again, this week, then Brooks Koepka came out and just stabbed Wolff in the back in a big way. So earlier this week, Koepka was quoted as saying, this is Koepka saying this quote, "I mean, when you quit on your round, you give up on stuff like that, that's not competing." He told this to Bob Harrick at Sports Illustrated. Continued, "I'm not a big fan of that. You don't work hard. It's very tough. It's very tough to have even like a team dynamic where you've got one guy that won't work, one guy's not going to give any effort, he's going to quit on the course, break clubs, gets down, bad body language. It's very tough. I've basically given up on a lot of talent, but I mean, that talent's wasted." So Brooks Koepka, the captain of the team, is saying, "I've given up on this guy, and he's wasting his talent." I mean, I just think a team captain saying that about his own teammate is really poor form. Like, I like Brooks on the golf course, but off the course, he doesn't strike me as, like, terribly bright. He's got a bit of a frat boy mentality at times. I mean, we saw him a couple weeks ago, like, completely wasted drunk at a Florida Panthers game where he's a season ticket holder. And he was making a spectacle, calling the Florida Panthers goalie a pylon. He was literally holding up a pylon that he went and got from the lobby and screaming, "You suck," at the top of his lungs. And, this is not a Leafs game. This is a Florida Panthers game. You can hear a pin drop in those buildings. So Brooks Koepka drunk, standing up screaming, "You suck." Everyone in the arena heard it, and certainly the goalie of the Florida Panthers heard it. Now, this is the same Florida Panthers who ended up winning the Eastern Conference and made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And you've got Brooks Koepka drunk calling the goalie a pylon and saying you suck in the arena. It's like, what are you doing? And also, why are you blasting, Matt Wolff's name into the media? It's all really weird. I just think, like I said, Brooks, good dude, but there's times where you're like, I don't know if this guy really gets it kind of off the golf course, and here's one of those times. Now, keep in mind, Matthew Wolff has talked about his struggles with mental health in recent years. He took 2 months away from golf at one point because he talked about being uncomfortable with the spotlight, and he just kind of wanted to lay in bed and get away from the world. I mean, this is a guy that was once considered one of the bright young stars in the game of golf, which is why LIV went out and signed him and gave him big money. They knew they needed some young guys that kind of had promising futures and not just the old guys like Phil Mickelson and Ian Poulter and Henrik Stenson. They had to go out and get some young players like Matthew Wolff. I believe Wolff's about like 24 years old. And this was a guy, there was a lot of buzz around him on the PGA Tour just before he left for LIV. And, here he is now in this spot getting his captain ripping apart. I actually reached out to Matthew Wolff's agent seeking comment. He didn't respond to me, but he did respond to Bob Harrick at Sports Illustrated. And this is the statement from Matthew Wolff. Quote, "I read the SI interview, which is Sports Illustrated, with our captain Brooks Koepka, and it was beyond disappointing to me. When I chose to join his team in 2023, I did so with much optimism about my new home as part of Team Smash, and equally as important, the chance to be around and learn from a player of Brooks' stature. Like everyone who's ever played the game at the highest level, I've had competitive moments in the past that I feel like I've let myself down, and even others in the new team environment. This has been quite difficult for me. My challenges on and off the course with mental health has been well documented. I deal with those challenges every day." Matt Wolff continues. However, while my 2023 season has not been all I had hoped for to this point, I've made positive strides in managing my life, and I feel like my game's turning around to the positive. To hear through the media that our team leader has given up on me is heartbreaking. It's not what a team member looks to hear from its leader, and I think we all know these comments should have been handled much differently, but I'm moving forward and won't ever give up on myself. While my on-the-course results may not appear to be positive indicators, I'm trying to win an even bigger game with my life, unquote. So that's Matthew Wolff's saying, like, dude, you know I have mental health issues, and here you are putting this in the media. And why this is being done in the media, I don't know. Why this wasn't done in private, or handled some different way. It was weird. Was Brooks trying to light a fire under this guy? I don't know. But I just don't know if that's the best way to go about it. Like, just blasting this guy to Sports Illustrated. Like, hey, Bob Herrick, come here. I got something to say about Matthew Wolff, the guy on my team. Like, he knew what he was doing. He knew it would blow up. And here we are. So the team element of LIV Golf bringing drama in a different light this weekend in England, not just on the golf course. We saw it with Cam Smith missing that putt on the 18 that he ended up winning, but it cost his Ripper GC teammates. The highlight played some of that audio earlier. And then here we have off-the-course drama with the team LIV Golf. But this is just brutal. It's lame for Brooks Koepka. I think it's a bad look. And this is why more often than not, great players don't make great coaches in almost every sport. They can't understand why people don't think the way they do or are motivated in the same way. There's a podcast I listened to years ago. Joey Barton is a former English football player and soccer player and is now a manager, so he had to stop the podcast because he's back in managing teams in the lower leagues in England. But he had this guy who's an expert in psychopaths and psychopathy. Is he from like Oxford University in England? He's like this professor. And he talked about, now obviously when you think psychopath, everyone thinks, oh, you're a killer and you're going to kill a bunch of people, whatever. But there are everyday psychopaths out there working in life. Like, I've been in a relationship with a psychopath. They're not murderers, but they kind of have no empathy for other people. And this guy on the Joey Barton podcast, this professor from Oxford, talked about how he believes a lot of world-class athletes are psychopaths because they're so driven and focused kind of on one thing. They don't have a lot of empathy for people around them. It's about me, one thing only, that's that. And I think you could make an argument. Now, this is not in a negative manner. This is more the clinical. You could probably see maybe Brooks Koepka could have psychopathic traits or psychopathy, as this professor from Oxford called it. And this isn't saying Brooks Koepka is going to go kill people. What this says is he's just so laser focused on what he does. I don't think he understands how to kind of talk to people in certain ways and stuff like that. But go track it down, the Joey Barton podcast, and look for the one on the episode on psychopaths and psychopathy. Pretty interesting stuff. But don't forget, drop me a follow on Twitter at Mr. McKee and subscribe to This Week in Golf on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever it is you prefer to listen to your podcast.